So as I said before, the facilitator is actually a friend of mine, very good friend of mine, and also a friend to the founder, Stanley Watcher. We both have historical record. Our path has crossed a lot in the past and still in the present. So as I said before, you could see the little time we did a catch up. It's been a while I saw him last, so but he's a very good friend of mine, very reliable, and he's somebody who can always step in so many things that he has competence on. So I always call upon him in fact, at any shortest period of time, he always turn up to deliver an excellent job. So as I said, he was the one that meant to handle Module 7 program for us yesterday, but because we already have a facilitator, so I solicited that if he's happy to step in to handle Module 6, of which we mixed, that was meant to be handled by Professor Usuala, but he was unavoidably absent. And we are so lucky he accepted the request. So here he is. So I'll briefly read his profile while I hand over the platform to him to express his what he knows how best to do to teach us what he knows how best to do. So his name is Echono Henry Onyebuchi. He is a researcher and development economist, currently pursuing a PhD program in regional and societal economics at Moscow University. He holds a master's degree in data analytics for business and economics from HCE, with expertise in econometrics, statistical modeling, data analytics, and economic research. He has over 25 peer-review publications and research collaborations across several African countries. His research interest focuses on development economics, poverty and inequality, public policy, social inclusion, and sustainable development. He is also developing a real people economics, an emerging school of thought, economic school of thought that advocates for development to be understood and designed from the real life experience, needs, and pain point of people, using the individual unit and village as a fundamental analytical model. The framework emphasizes that economic growth and development should emerge from the realities of people and communities rather than imposed solely through top to down economic indicators and model. I think I share a lot in this new theory. I hope you pull through on this because this will actually incorporate the realities of the world. I used to argue a lot with economists on some of the things that they do, which include some of the stories they tell us about how things are changing and how things are not changing. And at the end of the day, I used to ask them, how does all these things you guys are saying, how does it relate to what we know in life? It does not correlate. It does not correlate because it's not making sense in any way, right? So I used to argue a lot with them, but I'm happy that you are championing this because this will help people to understand the reality of others, the pains, especially those from the rural areas, what they are suffering and what they're experiencing, right? So we are happy to have you here, Doc. I'm going to let me make you a co-host so I can be able to share what you have for us today. Just give me a sec. Yeah, I think I have made you a co-host. So the audience, he is an erudite scholar. I can tell you that for free, right? He is very good when it comes to research. As you can see from his profile, he has already published over 25 peer review papers, right? So he's not new to the business. he knows what it takes to to master research. So I implore you to please listen, jot down your questions, and make very good use of this opportunity. Ask him any question as you have or as you can think of, and I'm very much sure that he's going to profile solutions to your worries. And this class is more of practical involvement because it's going to guide us practically how some of the learning objectives should be action, right? It's going to be the theoretical part, but more of practical incidents. So if you have question, you can put that on the chat box, right? And if you still want to call his attention, you can raise your hand up and call his attention. And the class rep is here, and I'm equally on standby, so we can always usher you in for you to ask your question, right? Doc, you have the floor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to the organizers and to everyone who have made this thing possible. I am so grateful and I could not decline the opportunity to present my ideas and to present what I've been trying to work upon for so many years now. So I think everyone who is here, I think we have about 10 participants so far. So thank you so much. And I will want everyone to like unmute yourself because I will begin with the theoretical part and then we will now go to the practical aspect of it. But for the first point, I will begin by asking us questions based on our thought because what we are up to is to become analysts. Now, I don't believe in having many more analysts. I believe in having analysts that think differently, analysts that think from the pain point to the gain point. If you look at Africa, because our major point of focus and interest is in Africa. Okay, so if you look at Africa, you discover that Africa has the potential to rule the world economically. If you look at Africa and look at the situation going on in Africa, the country is sitting on wealth, but yet amassed in poverty. So you and I will begin to question the reasonability and the reliability of some of these economic predictions. And then you and I will begin to ask, why is it that economics say things are growing, the economy is growing, and yet the people are languishing into even greater poverty? For an instance, why is that the Nigerian economy is on the upward trend? The stock market is doing very well, but yet we have many more people who can't even afford 3 square meal. Now, as an analyst, you do not see what other people see. You begin to see what they do not see. You begin to question why what is happening is happening. This is where your own imagination begins. So there are two kinds of analysts, okay? So I don't just have to get us to understand what I have to just explain so that you can just begin to join the clique of those who bring theoretical postulation and back it with practical empirical validation. No, that is not it. I remember back then in the university, you have people who make research, okay? And the data is manipulated, the result is manipulated, the policy is manipulated, and is meant to significantly impact the economy. It cannot work like that. So you see somebody who found negative relationship between exchange rate and GDP, and then the person say based on economic a priori expectation, because economists over time have told you that when this happens, this is supposed to happen. But economists over time have never put into place the current economic reality, the current global reality in place. You understand? They have never thought about it. They have never thought about the fact that the policies that we work at the West might not really work at the East, might not really work at the North. So personally, I believe that the policies that can develop Africa has to be Afrocentric, has to be African-signed. The policies that have developed the West is for the West. The policy that can develop Africa and the system that can develop Africa has to be from the pain point of Africa, has to be from the reality of what Africa is going through. For us to have solution to problems, we will need to use the problems as the solution and not to find the solution to the problems. So I just want to give us brief introduction. All right. Now it's going to be realistic. It's going to be kind of let's share your view. Let's have what you have to say. Okay. Now poverty in Nigeria was exacerbated. I think 2023. Somebody came up on board and he declared swept subsidy removed. Right. And then everything from the Nigerian economic sense of view crashed. Everything crashed, right? Now, I want us to analyze this policy because as an analyst, my aim is not just to teach you how to interpret statistical output and then get meaning into it, because statistical output just justifies theoretical postulation without any real realistic economic meaning and experience. Does not make sense. It simply means you're working for the paper. The people we want to have in our current situation, in our current generation, are people who are going to give real understanding, real meaning to what is going on in the real economy. And that is why I champion the real people economy from the pinpoint and not the paper people economy. Oftentimes, you see somebody announcing the economy is growing, but we have more people who are going into poverty than we have more people who are going out of poverty. All right, so let us analyze this particular policy of fuel subsidy removal. If you see, I've actually said that that was one of the wrongest policy. Now, and then you hear economists like Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and some of the pronoun people, prominent names, they tell you that that was the best policy. So I want us to analyze this policy. What should the government have done? Where did the government get it so bad and all that? So after doing that analysis, I will show us some little chart about how we can also solve the issue of economic impoverishment in Nigeria using the pinpoint tool. And then we go into what we need to discuss. Because my aim is to provoke you not to think in line with the regional, sectorial, or the normal way of thinking. Because if you become an analyst, and then your result, your point of talk, your point of thought, your point of communication is still the same thing that every other person have communicated, then it simply means that you're not contributing anything to knowledge. When we had studies, we have different school of thought. These are people who were thinking outside the box. We need to think outside the box. We need to think outside economic a priori expectation that has justified certain level of result you should get. They did not remember some of these works happened early 1980s, 1770 something. These theories were, put into place to guide the economy of today, to guide the AI-driven economy of today, to guide the technological revolution of today. You understand? To guide the globalized village of today. And then you begin to, analyze how is the applicability of some of this old theory in the current happening. You understand? So these are the things I want us to talk about before we go into the practical part and then the things I need to present to you. Because if I can't get you to think outside the box, then I will only get you to understand statistical interpretation, interpret statistics, and without having any real life experience or capturing real life meaning on why those data change over time and giving meaning to it. Okay. So my aim is to make sure that you give meaning to data, real life meaning to data, and not just economic meaning to data, because that is exactly where we need to get to as researchers. So first, the government removed fuel subsidy. Was that an economic related policy that improved standard of living, or it was an economic growth oriented policy? Now, the first two things I want us to understand before we give our opinion is this: an economy can grow for two sectors. It can grow for two sectors. One, for the real people. Two, for the main people. The real people are those in the villages. The real people are those Nigerians who cannot afford food. The real people are those who are suffering. All right. Then the main people are those who are on top. Remember, we'll have two classes. We'll have the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. Okay, the ruling class and then the governed class. So was this policy for the ruling class or for the class that has been governed? Then was this policy the right policy? Was the timing right? I want to hear. I want us to just analyze it very briefly. and we can now proceed. Do not answer me based on what you have read or what they say. Your own thought. You can mute your mic and talk, please. Very quickly, very quickly. 1 minute, 1 minute. You want to respond? Your mic is mute. Unmute yourself.
No, I'm just here to observe what is going on. So
Okay, okay, okay.
if you have a reaction to this, just feel free to unmute yourself and contribute. We just want to lay the background before going into the model of the day properly. So that is how economists and analysts how they begin their lecture. They want to lay a background and then make everywhere soft for them to land. So if you have any contribution to his question, feel free to unmute yourself. No answer is correct, no answer is wrong.
Yeah, just your own personal opinion.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Ololade Elizabeth. So I will not say I am a very educated person when it comes to the economy, but I think the removal of fuel subsidy at the time if it was removed was not favorable to the real people of the Nigerian economy because it affected us. We saw that it affected everybody, but it affected the real people more because
Mhm,
it made us spend more out of pocket, and it was not like the minimum wage was increased
mhm,
to the extent where it was favorable for everybody. Because if we check the other countries which we were comparing with us about our fuel prices, we will
mhm,
see that there is a large difference between our minimum wage and their minimum wage. And we will
mhm,
see that their standard of living there is quite way better than us here,
mhm,
considering our income to our expenditure.
mhm,
So I don't know if it is an economic growth. If it's for economic growth or if it's for economic. What was the second one you said? I did not really know about that. But as for at the time it was implemented, even though they had good reasons because they felt like it was being embezzled and but even at that, at least you were still living quite comfortably before the removal. But
mhm,
after the removal, it became so difficult for people because
mhm,
fees and every other thing increased and food and everything just became so expensive.
mhm.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for your response. So, very quickly, let's get on this because I really want us to analyze this and break this down because this is the prominent part of poverty in Nigeria. The petroleum sector is the most critical sector that drives poverty in Nigeria. Okay, so if anybody wants to reduce poverty, all you have to do is reduce the petrol price, right? Now, there are things you pointed out, and I want us to analyze it. So, the first thing is the comparison paradox. The country was always comparing ourselves with the likes of Iran, with the likes of UAE, with the likes of USA, with the likes of Russia. Now, these countries are countries that are heavily invested in fuel production and fuel refining. Now, the nation says that the price they pay per pump unit is higher than what we are paying when we convert it. Okay, as an analyst, okay, now you will understand that from that point of view. But do you understand it from the point of view that 90% to 80% of the populations in this country are not direct fuel consumers? I'm going to explain. Okay. Now, when you go to countries like the US, countries like the UAE, countries like Iran, and over here, now they have systems like the public transport system. Okay. The public transport system. They have metro, they have Trump, they have different transport system. They even have the water transport system, right? Now, the only people who buy fuel on a daily basis are those who want to claim or those who want to feel like who want that comfort of being alone, who want that privacy. So the fuel consumption in the country is not like for everybody because 70 to 80% of the populations in these countries, all right, they are all using the public provided means of transportation. And then you go to these countries too. These countries are using what is called the nuclear energy for power generation. These countries are using things like electricity to power their vehicles on the road, not fuel. But the economy back home compares their pump price with our pump price, justifies the reason why it is measurable and is agreeable to remove it. But the economists and the analysts we have in Nigeria do not look at the real people pain point, compare the real people pain point with the exact thing that is going on in our country. From where you are, can you get a train to the next state?
No, sir.
Is there anything like a public government-owned transport system where you possibly have your card, you tap your card, you pay once in a month? Okay, like if you compare what I pay once in a month here with Naira, maybe is around, let's say 20,000 Naira. Now, in a month for 31 days, I pay 20,000 Naira and I can use the bus, I can use the tram, I can use the train to anywhere I want. Like when I mean anywhere I want, I mean I can travel from the east to Lagos, just like that. Come back, just like that. Okay. Now this is exactly what the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian economists compare and contrast, justify for the removal of fuel subsidy in the country. Okay. Now another thing you talked about is the issue of embezzlement, and I want us to talk about it. If embezzlement was the issue in fuel subsidy removal, why not remove the embezzlers and keep the subsidy? What do you think about that policy?
I mean, that would have made sense, but we know the country we are. There are a lot of
No,
people.
no. The country we are is what we have made it to be because nobody is questioning. Nobody is making real related analysis. Nobody is thinking outside the box. Everybody is thinking what is told. Like you don't go beyond what you hear. You don't go beyond the presentations that AIT, DSTV, or whatsoever give you. You understand? Okay, somebody have a question. Please go ahead.
Okay, it's not a question, sir. It's about what you just said. Why
All
not
right.
remove the embezzlers and listen? I think
Mhm.
those who are to still remove the embezzlers are still the embezzlers. They are enabling them. So I don't
Okay.
think they can remove the embezzlers since they are benefiting from it.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly. Because even the main reason of them removing the subsidy is not saying it in anywhere in our economy.
No, no, we
Like
are
the whole
coming to that. No,
okay.
we are coming to that. You know, remember the first question we asked about this. I really want us to be very, very fast in there so that we can go to the practical part. But if I can get you to think critically, if I can get you to think critically and be able to give real life explanation to data manipulation and data meaning in Nigeria, I've achieved my objectives. Do you understand? I want you to understand that your economists in the country have failed you. They have made series of propositions that are totally wrong. And because the people don't make any research, everything they say, they clap at them. When I was very small, I heard of somebody called is it Professor Charles Soludo and what have you. So I was so kind of applauding him that for him to be in the Anambra will become like a World Trade Center. Like Anambra will be the best place. In fact, this man is going to, facilitate all the economic, things that we need. At least the basic thing, which is dredge the Niger Delta and get ships come into the southeast, and the southeast will explode in one day. In less than 6 months, southeast will explode. These are things you think about. But what he's doing, we don't even know. He has turned to a content creator. You understand? And you see that nothing is happening. So there's another thing you said. I want us to think about it. You talked about minimum wage. As an economist and as an analyst, I have always believed that minimum wage is good to be increased. All right. But as time goes on, I made a lot of research. I discovered that the worst thing that any economy can actually improve upon is the minimum wage without improving on the standard of living. Let me explain to us this paradox. This is what the government does, okay? The government increases the minimum wage and then allows inflation to skyrocket, right? So inflation is on a higher end, and the minimum wage is also on a higher end. It simply means that if you were earning 30,000 naira before, and your 30,000 naira could buy like one bag of rice, okay, and now you're earning 70,000 naira, and that 70,000 naira is also buying one bag of rice. This is the economy of manipulative thinking. The people see the money value, but they do not really think about the real value of the money. This is exactly the place where I ask the education sector in Nigeria, how are you people thinking? ASU is not demanding for reduced fuel price so that the standard of living will be good. Because if our money is valuable, we will spend less and we'll have more. So what do the government do? What do the government do? Very wise set of people. They don't go to school, but they are very wise. I'm telling you the gospel truth. They don't go to school, but they are very wise. They are wiser than the professors that can't even pronounce numbers and numerics that put them in power. You understand? Now, what do? The professors ask for increase in fuel. They ask for increase in salary. The government won't argue, no problem. The moment they do that, they go back and allow inflation to float. Devalue the entire money. Devalue the entire money. Have you ever regressed the relationship between minimum wage increase and standard of living and poverty? You will discover that it's so crazy. The more the minimum wage is increased, the more poverty and inflation goes up. What does it mean? That the money that is added is just nominal value. It doesn't have any real value. You understand? So they are giving it to you, they are taking it from you. And that is why for every increase, the people in the public sector get more worse off than better off. Those people are so wise. They are not illiterate. You understand? Now, you talked about something like embezzlement and what have you. I wouldn't want to talk about that because on my own economic point of thought, I believe that anybody who is able to embezzle public funds can also be able to transform the economy. I don't even believe in fighting corruption. I want you to understand my own mindset. You understand? I don't believe in fighting corruption because you can't win against corruption. Corruption is a systematic part that is part of every African thinking. Do you understand? Now, the only way to build with corruption is to invest in corruption. I'm going to confuse you and correct your mindset. Just listen up before we get on here. Now, how can you build on corruption? This is what you do. I think we have some lives of Atiku and all these people that have stolen money, right? They have universities across the countries, across different countries, and then they have money packed in different countries, and these countries are using this money to develop their own economy. It's okay. As a president of the country, this is what I'm going to do. All the money you have stolen from the public is yours. But the only thing I want you to do is to bring them back and make investment in the country and then operate this same investment in the country. Now, you don't need to be greedy, right? Now, they bring back this money. They invest this money in the country, right? They generate job. They increase your GDP and then you tax them. If you tax them in the next 10 years, you'll be able to collect back all they collected. It's as simple as that. This is how you can develop with corruption. You don't fight it. And that is why people like Oshomele will tell you that once you join APC, you are a saint. You see, that is it. That is it. That is it. We have people in our country that can build refineries today. All you have to do is tell them, come back, build a refinery. The poor people will be employed. The prices of fuel will reduce and everything will come back normal. How do you do that? Because you are now using corruption to develop instead of fighting corruption. Because the more you fight corruption, the more the corruption grows. Whatsoever you fight grows. But when you embrace it and try to build with it, it works. Now, what is the background behind my rational thinking? The background behind my rational thinking is that we have heard of Abacha loot. We have heard about billions of dollars recovered. But where is the money? The issue there is that the bigger thief thieves from the smaller thief. So why not leave the thief alone and use what the thief has stolen and develop their country by telling them to bring it home? Now that's it. So I think I want you people to understand things from this point of view before we continue. And then the last point of thought I want us to get on before we get on what I have to talk about here is the church aspect of growth. Because I don't want us to be thinking like, how can we grow? I want us to think wide. What is the one thing that is the biggest problem in Nigeria today? It's not Boko Haram. It's not insecurity. You understand? It's not poverty. Nigeria is not a poor country. There is no country in Africa that is poor. You are only told that you are poor so that you believe that you are poor. The consistency in borrowing is to reinforce the mindset that we are poor. It's a lie. Nigeria is not poor at all. We borrow to show, to prove to the public that indeed we don't have. You understand? Nigeria is the only country that goes to the World Bank and borrow money and end up sharing the money to the people. Yeah. That is the only country. They are the only country that don't know what to do with money. They share money. Because any country that shares money to the citizens have no futuristic thought about the citizens. So, for instance, on this, I developed a model about empowerment. I said something. I say you can never empower poverty. It's not possible. You can never empower poverty. You need to cure poverty to empower people. For an instance, let us put it like this. A lot of people believe that, for instance, somebody who just graduated from Harvard University, they will bring him up to become the poverty alleviation coordinator in Nigeria. And all he has had in his life is living in the US, best of university, best of this and best of that. Now, what he's going to propose as part of poverty alleviation is conditional cash transfer. Which condition will you transfer cash to? And then you begin to transfer money to people. You understand? Now, how will you transfer money to somebody who is owing his neighbor, owing his landlord, owing people for food, owing the next person that has a kiosk by the side? You will not give the person money to begin business when he has not paid his debt. So, when you send them this money, the first thing that comes to their mind is they need to clear all their backlog. And that is why every of the government approach towards sending money to have people, invest and begin to grow on it doesn't work, because you don't empower poverty. You cure poverty, then you empower the people. So that when you give the people the seed, they plant it because they already have a harvest they are eating upon. Now, that is the next thought. And the last thought is the church growth paradox. Then we proceed. So I want us to look at this. What is the biggest problem in Nigeria? Is it politics? Is it church? Or is it, no, let me not use church so that we don't single out the Christians. Is it politics? Is it religion? Or is it regionality, like ethnic bias? What is the biggest problem? I'm listening. I just got 3. What is the biggest problem? Is it politics? Is it religion? Or is it regionality?
So,
Okay, I'm listening.
okay, for me, I think it's actually the three of them works hand in hand.
God bless you. The 3 of them
No
works
one
hand in
is
hand.
possible.
Okay. Now, but there is a superlative and then comparative analysis of them. So there is one that enforces every other one. So let us talk about that one that enforces every other one. Which is it? What do you think? What do you think? No answer is right. No answer is wrong. Remember, this is my real people economic thought. You understand?
It's religion.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's religion.
All right. So I want you to understand something. That I'm developing these models alongside with professors across Canada, US, and then we tend to talk about these things, and they're like, "How the hell are you thinking like this? We don't want you to think like this, because if you think like this, Africa will develop." I say, yes, that is why I don't want to think like you guys who give us the model, because the models you've given to us cannot develop us. You gave us something that will keep us dependent forever. You understand? Now, your answer is very correct. Religion is the biggest problem in Nigeria. Let me show you guys something. And this is like the entrance to what we are here for today. So let me show you something. Let me see if I can share my screen. And okay, and I'm going to give us some analysis, and we proceed. So after explaining this, I was able to check out something. I was trying to find out why poverty has remained. And despite all the things the government is trying to do, but poverty has remained, and so many things are going on so badly. So here is one of the chart I want to show us. Yeah, come on. Now, have you seen my chart? Please, I see my screen.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Now, this is church structure, growth, and poverty. Okay. Now, if you look at this trend line, the trend line is a kind of collaboratively upward trend, where you see that as the church structure is growing, the number of registered church buildings, the more we have church buildings in Nigeria and church planting in Nigeria, the greater poverty we have. I know this is not thinking from the religious bias point of view, but it's thinking from how can we develop. So religion is one of the biggest problems. So a unit increase in religion actually increases poverty in the country much more in its equilibrium point. So for every church planting results to more poverty. That is one. And then this is the next one I want us to look at. Okay, now this is the next one. Religious composition and poverty trend in Nigeria. Now, it is between the Christians and the Muslims and then poverty. So I also try to look at if the religious composition in Nigeria based on Christian and Muslim segmentation increases, what actually happens to poverty. Now, you and I see that for every single increase in religious composition, poverty jumped up. For instance, in 2011, you see that the Muslims were about 51.2%, okay? And then poverty is at 53.8%. And then you also see that the Christians were at 47.6%. Poverty was at 53.8%. Now, when the Christian religion actually increased to 52.1%, poverty increased to 54%. When the Christian religion, which is the green line, increased to 53.2%, poverty increased to 63%. So when we look at things like this, we'll begin to ask ourselves, why is it that Nigeria remains poor? Nigeria remains poor because the problem we are trying to solve is not the politics. The politics is the least problem in Nigeria. Do you know why? The religion brings those who are in politics. The religion blesses those who are in politics. The religion advises those who are in politics. This is the systematic approach, and we then go into our talk for today. I think I have really laid this foundation of critical thinking, so you think outside the box, okay? Because when you want to make recommendations and make research that is going to like be impactful and bring people to thinking, you don't do what others have done, just like we did back in school: economic growth and poverty alleviation, impact of industrialization, and this they work. You need to look outside the box. It's not working. Those things don't work in the African scene. It can't work. So we need to think outside the box. Now, this is what happens before every election. The pulpits, the pastors, and the prophets, they come to tell us the anointed one of God, right? And then give us the prophecy. We end up doing what? Voting in the person. And then the moment after the voting in the person, then we begin January by fasting and praying for the same person to perform. Now, the people who voted, who actually gave us the prophecy, never take part in criticizing the government that is not doing well. Rather, what they do is that they remain silent and tell the people to pray. In the last point of thought, every religious figure in Nigeria today is silent. Why? Because they brought in the government and they have done nothing about it. And that is why, listen, you people need to be very, very critical. That is why your president had the audacity and temerity to tell the bishops who visited him to feed their members. Did you hear that? That they should feed their members. Now, what he is saying is this, that we can actually have the religious aspect of development. And for some time now, I've actually talked about how religion can lead to development. Instead of building more churches, why not us build more industry? In fact, I made the model and I declared that for every single church planting, there should be an industrial planting that kind of absorbs the church members in each of those localities. Why not each religious organization have their bread factory, have their pure water factory, have all that needs to be done that can satisfy their people? No, they will not do that. And that is why your president, like Tinubu, had to tell them that they should feed their own congregation because he knows the kind of money available to them. So the greatest problem is not politics. The greatest problem is not religion and hatred. It is religion that has resulted to this evil politics. So, with this point of thought, I will begin my discourse with you very quickly and let you understand that we need not think like every other person. If you and I think like every other person, then our analysis, our discussions is not going to be far from what every other person have done. So we would literally be more like one of them. But if you must be outstanding, you must be someone who is thinking outside the box, someone who is looking at the pain point and using the pain points to bring about developmental ideas. So welcome to week 6, quantitative data analysis. Okay, now on week 6, I'm supposed to talk about quantitative data analysis. But before talking about quantitative data analysis, I want you to understand the difference between quantitative and qualitative, right? Now, quantitative data analysis is basically the use of numerical figures in data analysis and possibly the extraction of trend. Okay, you try to extract data maybe from the Nigeria Statistical Bulletin, from World Bank portal, from IMF portal, and then you carry out your quantitative data analysis. It's more like a secondary approach to data analytics. That means you are analyzing what is already evidential. Is you are studying what is available. You are working on existing data. And the best methodological approach to that is the S post facto method of research analysis, which actually focuses on analyzing what has been, to draw empirical and theoretical harmonized conclusion over time. So this is the difference. When you talk about the qualitative is different. Qualitative is more of you, going out there to collect the data through questionnaire, through surveys, sample surveys, and quasi survey, and all those things. You understand? I know you understand that. And you collect the data, you interpret the data, you code the data using your SPSS and your Excel, and then you're able to run inferential statistics, descriptive statistics to drive meaning home. Now, why did I take my time so much to explain this fact to you? I took much of my time to explain this fact to you because you do not make economic recommendations based on just what is. You make it based on what has been. You understand? You look at the real thing that is going on. What is the data story? Because everybody knows statistics, everybody knows data analytics, but who is, giving us the data story? What is the data saying? I understand that the data in Nigeria and other countries are grossly manipulated because if we should look at the true data of poverty in the country, I will be seeing 95%. But for the sake of public sentiment, just like the US said, they will not release a certain record so that people will not die. You understand? Now, for the sake of public sentiment, these data are kind of chopped down, okay, so that people will not start shouting, okay. But poverty and inequality, malnutrition is far, far deep down than what the data says. So it is your responsibility to give data meaning. So today's agenda, we'll be looking at the foundation, okay? That is some of the principles of quantitative analysis, okay? And then we'll be looking at descriptive statistics. We just talked briefly about it, inferential statistics and what it is all about, and then some of the software visualizations. I don't know, but I think I will just use one software to visualize, and then interpretation of result. Now, to save us lots of time, I wouldn't want us to just go out there and start learning softwares like econometric view, like SPSA, softwares like Python, softwares like Stata, and all those things. You see, AI has made everything easy, and AI has been integrated into all of this software. So instead of killing yourself to learning this software, I think you should focus your attention more on learning AI data analytics. Okay, because so far so good, a lot of AIs have the capacity and ability to carry out these analytics, although there are some, okay, that it cannot do. And that is why you just need to know it before you can use AI to do it. Because if you do not know it, you cannot use AI to do it. You understand? For an instance, you can run a regression and then you don't know how to, kind of apply your ADF result, that is your augmented decayfuller result, on your regression. And then it simply disjoints the entire findings. Because why you did regression, why you did stationality test is to apply it on your regression. So if you do not apply it, it simply means that it does not give you, and it will not give you the exact meaning over time. Okay, so these are the things I expect you to understand by the end of the class. I expect you to understand the basic principles, perform statistical analysis, and then use statistical softwares. But I might possibly look at e-views and then maybe one other research method. And then I expect you to understand visualization. I could do that in Excel, Power BI, Tableau, or any of them. And then the interpretation of output. Now, I will want to have more concerted effort interpretation of output so that your interpretation is not just theorization of what has been predicted, but your interpretation is real economic oriented, backing it with previous findings. Okay, so after that we will begin from here. So far, any question before I fly in, please? Any question, any confusion, any area of thought that came to your mind that you want us to like talk about it? I can now continue with what we have the, because I wouldn't want us to just be all talking, it will be boring. So I have a question. Who is a data analyst? On your own definition. See, when I ask you a question, I don't want you to answer me based on paper. I don't believe in paper. I believe in your own thinking. You understand? Based on what you understood about it, what do you think, or what do you capture a data analyst to be? Very quickly. Just want us to talk a bit and then we'll go on. Yeah, go ahead, please, Chidima. Unmute yourself.
Okay, from my own layman's understanding, I think analytics is someone using like available data to analyze the outcome of something, like just using data that is already existing to analyze what should be, what should not be, just like that. That's my own understanding.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's a very good one. Now, there are two aspects of that orientation that I will want to correct so that we can get it. You understand? Now, a data analyst is like a yesterday, today, and tomorrow kind of person.
Doc, I think we still have more hands up. So if you can allow them to give us their understanding, then they can now give an overview of them.
Okay. Chidima Umenadi. Yeah, let's go ahead. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Good evening, Doc. Good afternoon, Doctor.
You're
I
welcome.
would say a data analyst is someone who collects data,
Okay.
cleans it, like prepares it for analysis, analyzes the data, kind of finds trend, like hidden information from data, and as well ensures that he passes it to the people that needs the data. That's why we talk about visualization. So he should be able to, let me say, break down the complexity of the data in a way that other people can understand it. So that's what
I like
think.
that. I like that. Thank you. Every of your response is good. Any other person we can have time to talk? Yes, Dansu Mata. Nah. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, I would say a data analyst is someone who collects, he also examines data, interprets data, and also can help organizations to make decision, to make better decisions.
That's nice. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Any other person? Oh, Okay, any other person? No one. Chidima, your hand is still raised up. Okay. All right. So I think you're all correct. You're very all correct on that. Your understanding about who a data analyst is very correct on that. But let me pinpoint something to you. Now, for every of my rational thinking, you might not see it in textbooks. My analysis, you might not see it in textbooks. You understand? But when you hear it, you understand that this is a real life thing that is really going on and is hitting you so hard, right? Now, a data analyst is a yesterday, today, and tomorrow kind of person. All right. Now, if we don't have yesterday, we cannot understand today. And if we don't have today, we cannot understand tomorrow. All right. So the first thing is the historical part of the data, which is what your quantitative analysis is all about. Your quantitative analysis. So we try to study what has been in order to know why what is. And because we have known why what is, we can predict what can be. You understand? So this person is directly responsible for, taking the historical perspective to understand the present experience and then to predict the future outcome. So that's just it. That's just it. Now there is a distinguishing factor in this particular thing. It depends on what you want to do. Okay. You can decide to be a data analyst who actually tells the data story. You can beat about tells the data story and data story, just like Ngozi Kunjewala and all these people. No, these guys are good. These guys tell the data story. But there is difference between a data analyst that has seen poverty, that has been at the means of poverty, that has been with the real people analysis. Do you understand? That is basing his analysis based on what has been seen, what has been experienced, than somebody who is justifying a theory, a theoretical postulation. They are two different people. You understand? Now, a data analyst that is on a paper kind of person is going to give you an analysis and a kind of analysis of data, that is going to like correspond with what is called the a priori expectation and not the people's expectation. So in my economic school of thought, there are two expectations. The first expectation is the a priori expectation. The second expectation is the people's expectation. One, when you come to countries in the global south, like countries that have developed, what they do is the people's expectation. When you come to Africa, what they do is the a priori expectation. So I'm going to break it down. All right, I'm going to break it down very quickly. So the people expectation is when you study the real issue going on within the real people to bring about real solution to the real issues the real people are going through. That is people's expectation. All right. Now, a priori expectation is what the paper and the book have told you, that when you increase exchange rate, your GDP will grow. That when you increase exchange rate, your purchasing power will increase. But funny enough, we thank God for Nigeria, which is the only economy I know in this world now that has defied every economic principle. Anyone you apply fails. You understand? Anyone you apply just fails. Now, and that is why the government don't even know what to do. They make policies and policies and policies, and you don't see this thing affecting the real life of the people. Have you ever had when they will announce the economy grew by this, and you begin to ask yourself, what is the effect on me? Did it increase my purchasing power? Did it do anything in my life? Now, that is the two kinds of data analysis. Now, there is also two kinds of economic growth and development in a country. Okay. Now, one is that the economy can grow for the rich and the economy can also grow for the poor. Funny enough, in all African countries, the economy is growing for the rich and not for the poor. I want you to think like that. It's growing for the rich and not for the poor. So when the government tells you that our economic indicator for our growth is the fact that the Nigerian government is also bragging about the stock market, that the stock market have been on the boom. Please, how many of your fathers in the village has a stock in any company? How many people in Udoji, somewhere in Enugu State, has a stock that is growing in any company? How many people in Kafanchan knows what is called stock market? The only people that knows what is called stock market are the rich, who are the investors, who are the industrialists. So they tell you that the economy is growing and then you are happy and nothing is added to your pocket. You understand? But how can you tell me that the real people benefit from it? It's when the price of cement, when the price of gari, when the price of rice from 50,000 goes down to 15,000. That is when you will say, the economy is growing. That is real people economics. Do you understand? That is real people growth. So countries in Nigeria, Africa, they can grow, but it's not the real people. And that is why the more they are growing, the more poverty. Now, lastly, before we finish this analysis and continue with our talk point. Now, do you know that when the government says that the stock market is growing and because that the Nigerian economy is growing, do you know that the stock market that is growing is not growing for Nigeria? It's not growing for Nigeria and it's not growing for Nigerians. My aim is not just to teach you statistics. I can even tell them that, I don't know, I have a lot of presentations to do. I can even tell them, please create another class. Let me teach these people analysis from beginning to end for free. My aim is for you to think outside the box, think differently. You can't be like them and decide to make an impact. If you're like them, you cannot. So for an instance, you have a lot of companies like Nestle. Nestle is not owned by Nigeria, right? You have like Shell. Shell is not owned by Nigeria, right? Now Shell and all these companies are the ones booming the Nigerian stock market, and we are celebrating the stock market is doing very well. So what happens? They gather all their profit. That's what is called repatriation. They convert it to dollar. They send it back to their country. And we celebrate them. Yes, our economy is growing. That is why the higher they grow, the poorer will become. Please, I don't want us to, who the hell is calling me today? You're supposed to take call and send it. I'm going to call you back. I'm on a presentation, please. so, so that's it again. So that's it. Please, I want you to begin to think outside the box. Don't think like every other person. You understand? Even as we proceed. So when you talk about quantitative analysis, that is exactly what it is. Okay, we try to get from the historical point of view, and then we get to the present, and then from the present we can be able to predict the future. I don't know if you've have you heard of something like structural adjustment program? Have any of you heard about it? Did any of you hear about structural
Yes.
adjustment program? You heard about it?
Yes.
Have you read about it?
Yes.
Have you ever analyzed it?
No, sir.
Yes, I have. We were taught in school.
Oh yeah, you were taught about structural adjustment program, right? So what can
Yeah.
you make of that particular program?
When the economy of Nigeria was kind of liberalized, meaning
Mhm,
that the exchange rate was made to fluctuate, we moved from fixed exchange rates. Then we moved from commercialization to like a free system or like privatization, something
mhm.
like that. When they implemented the SAP, the economy like went down because we tried to implement what World Bank was saying into Nigeria.
Oh my goodness. I wish I had so many more hours to do this, but man, I don't know. I don't know. See, I kind of shifted my attention to many things. Okay, it's because I hear voices. So my ideas and things I hear is not just because I'm readings and textbooks. You understand? Now I hear voices, and these voices are things that tells me exactly what is going on in the economy. So when I discuss with professors across Canada and across so many, you see, I talk with them for hours, and they mad. They're like, please don't share this ID. So I remember when I was trying to do my master's defense. So the country where I was, we had an issue. I said I want to study Africa. They said, no, like, you must study our country. That's why we brought you here. I said, no, I want to study Africa. Africa is my interest. Man, I fought to my supervisor. You understand? He had to keep changing the topic and all that because my interest is Africa development. And Africa cannot develop with what is going on. Now, the first thing I wanted to do, an assignment, is I want you to study all the policies and recommendations of the World Bank and know its impact on the Nigerian economic trajectory over the years. Because I want to analyze just one, which is the SAP. The biggest problem that occurred in Nigeria was the adoption of structural adjustment problem. Did you hear what I said? I did not say program. I said problem. It's called structural adjustment problem. So the first analysis here is that Nigeria was at the trajectory of economic industrialization. Nigeria was at the trajectory of refineries working. Nigeria was at the trajectory of not just producing agricultural product, but also refining this agricultural product and becoming an export-oriented economy. And the World Bank came and said, no, instead of you becoming an export-oriented economy, why not export your raw materials and import the produced product and float your exchange rate and do this? And the administration accepted it. And from then, Kaduna stopped working. Warri stopped working. The north that was the hub of agricultural produce, corn, cocoa, granite, everything died. The steel industry died. Everything paused. Everything paused. Do you understand? Now, why did it happen? It's because there are two developmental policies. Okay. Now, the two developmental policy in every country is the fact that the developed must keep the underdeveloped in order to remain developed. I want to say it again. The developed must keep the underdeveloped in order to remain developed. You understand? Now, then another thing you need to understand, because if you don't get these principles when you are doing analysis, be it economic, be it industrial analysis, it's not going to work. You understand? You will not understand things further than this, and your policies cannot reflect the real data story. Now, another thing you need to understand is that, the industrialized must keep the unindustrialized on the extractive industry in order for them to remain industrialized. So most times, why is it that, have you asked yourself a question, which is the last one, then we'll go back to our slide. After on, we'll also come back here. After on, we'll also come back here. You understand? So that we can blend rational thinking based on the things I hear them say, and we blend it on what you can interpret. Have you ever thought about why is it that every government in Nigeria, the only thing they know how to build is road? Why they don't build company? Why is it that the only thing they know how to build is conference centers, flyovers, schools without any employable path? Have you ever thought about it? Why? Why is it that the government will not come to each community and say, this community have a lot of pantries. Why not us open something like an Abba Palm in this particular community? Why? Why is it that the Nigerian economy keep exporting fuel from the inception of when we don't know till now, but we have refineries that are working? We have refineries that can be, turned around to work. Why is it that the fuel subsidy money was removed instead of it to be used to revamp all the refineries or build new refineries? The Nigerian government said they saved money. Why? Now, when you think about policies and interpretation, always keep something in mind, that the data story you are seeing should not be blamed on your economy. The data story you are seeing is like a manipulated data story that is meant to keep you comfortable, is meant to keep you carrying along, because the people that don't want you to develop are not the ones in the government. They are the ones influencing the government and determining what the government does. So the impoverishment of Africa, the continued impoverishment of Africa, and the yet to continue impoverishment of Africa is not an African-made issue. It's an imported issue. Because if any day Africa decides to rise and begin to produce, Africa will stop to import. And when Africa stops to import, that's regional hegemony between the world powers and the less developed will begin to shake. Do you understand? Because there is need to keep the underdeveloped. There is a very sweet term, developing countries. Developing countries 50 years ago are still developing countries today. Developing countries 100 years ago are still developing countries today. But the issue there is that developing countries will remain developing countries as long as the hand of developed countries remain in developing countries. Let's go. Next, when you think about your when you talk about analysis, so you look at the you look at the objectives, which are much of your numerical works, and then your structural flow. So your quantitative data analysis has to do with your mathematical and numerical data. Like you kind of extract these data across different different portals. For an instance, if you want to do quantitative analysis, you can look at data like the time series data, which are data that run over a certain period of time. You can look at the panel data, which is when you collect data from different places. You understand? Okay, maybe you're studying a company related stuff, let's say the oil and gas company in Nigeria. So you collect data from Owando, you collect data from Shell, you collect data from Miss Oil, and all those stuff. So that is more like your panel data analysis. So that is just what your quantitative data is all about. Actually getting already made tabulated data is different from your qualitative approach, which is kind of extracting the data yourself. So next, I have said what we are meant to get today, and I think I've explained the principles and then perform statistical analysis. We are going to get there. We're going to use the data to do it very quickly, and then build visualization. I will want to do that very quickly and interpret some significant output. I will want to quickly do that too because we want us to be very practical in reasoning. Okay. Now, when you talk about, I think I want to go here. When you talk about data and data type, so we have the primary data and we have the secondary data. So the secondary data is called secondary data because it is data that has been extracted, data that is ready to be used, data that is already available, and all we are doing is to, extract it and then clean it and then, kind of harmonize it and make it reliable for our analysis. You understand? That's secondary data, but primary is when you kind of collect this data yourself, code it yourself, and be able to make meaningful interpretation about this data. So these are just the basic difference between your quantitative and your qualitative data analysis. So on different background, we have the nominal values, how you can measure your data. Okay, we have the nominal values, like you actually measure them based on their order of categorization, maybe gender, country, region, and then marital status. You understand? Now, the suitable things to actually regress using the nominal values is when you're looking for mode, you're looking for the highest in frequency of occurrence. You understand? Then you're looking for your frequency of count too, how many times this particular variable occur. Then you look at your ordinal, which is your categorization by rank. Okay, so you can actually rank people based on their educational level using the Likert scale. Okay, under here you're looking at your median or what have you. Now, I don't even know about the Likert scale. I know it's very popular. We had it, especially those who the primary data analysis. There's what is called a Likert scale, where you kind of do something based on either 5 or 7 or 10 Likert scale, where you have like strongly agreed, undecided, disagreed, strongly disagreed. So these are kind of ways you can do it. But I'm going to be part of this particular point of view because we want us to do practical. So now the next is interval. That is interval order data structure. Okay, where you can actually use things like your temperature. You are trying to estimate maybe the weather for a certain period of time. So you use your interval. Okay, because here you'll be interested in the mean of the values. You'll be interested on the standard deviation. And the last is the ratio. The last is the ratio, and that is your method of measurement. Now, how do your quantitative analysis flow? So the first thing is your design and data collection. The next thing is your clean and your code. The next thing is to describe your data, then test, interpret, report. So I want to come back and tell us what it means to design our data, and then interpret our data, collect our data, and all have you. Now, a lot of things have made it very easy. It has become very, very easy. Okay, there are some data portals that when you're looking for data in those portals, it's really very difficult. Now, there are data portals like the World Development Indicator. So when you go to portals like that, things you're going to see are things related to economic development, poverty rate, human capital index, and then you're also going to see something like a human capital development index, and all that, access to electricity by country, by region, access to water by country, by region. So these are some kind of data you see in those data points. Then you go to like statista.com. Statista.com gives you access to elaborate number of data too. So you can extract data from these particular portals. And then I think you also know about Bloomberg. You also have what is called indexmonday.com. Now, these are places you can actually extract data. But when it comes to company related data, you extract company data on company annual financial records. Okay, you don't extract it from nowhere. It has to come from company annual financial records very, very, very quickly. All right. So there are things you can actually do, and I will want us to do that because our time is good. So we will use more of the statistical softwares to practicalize some of the things, and then I'll also show you how to use your AI to generate data. Okay. Now, the first thing you need to understand there is that AI can generate false data for you. All right, unless you specify it. And basically, when you use the Pro AI versions, it's very nice. You tell it where to get the data and you validate those data, and it's very, very easy for you to have them. Now, for the proficiency in data extraction and collection, I would prefer you to use Go Gemini. Why? Because it has real life internet access. So instead of you going to Google to search for those data, you can just go to that particular AI and tell it to kind of give you the data. All right. So let's practicalize there. I have access to Google Gemini. All right. So this is my Google Gemini. Now okay, get me data on Nigeria's poverty rate from 2000 to 2024 using only official reports. Right? So remember, I have put a clause that it should use only official report, no hallucination, like I don't need it, no faking it. In fact, let me put it like that, I'm not faking it. So I can tell it, okay, in put it in Excel sheet for analysis. Okay. Okay, I need poverty in Nigeria. So I just send it, and then I expect it to like go to the internet and then make a search of it, and collect it from reliable portals, and then provide it for me to be able to carry on and make my analysis. So while my AI is generating my data, let's proceed to the next thing. The moment it comes up, we'll come back to that. So the next thing is data cleaning, then data description. Now you will need to clean your data. Okay, now how do you clean
Doc,
data?
Doc, excuse, sorry to interject. I think Elizabeth has a question to ask. Can you just ask your question quickly?
Okay.
Okay.
So sorry to this you interrupt that. Is there a question? There are some lines drawn on the screen. I don't know if there is a way to remove the lines. They are obstructing our view of your screen. There are some lines drawn on the screen. So I don't know if resharing your screen again will correct that or if there is a correction on the side. Thank you, sir.
You know
Uh,
the you know the asterisk lines that you can use on a slide. I don't know. Share your screen again. Let me see if that still display.
okay, wait,
Uh,
let me stop
yeah,
sharing.
I think it's off now. No?
And yeah, and then let me go back to Share. Okay. Let me share Windows, right?
Yeah, you can share window here.
Yeah, let me share Windows. Let me see. Has it gone off?
It's
Yeah.
loading. We can't see you. We're only seeing you.
Okay, you're not seeing my screen yet.
No, you're not seeing your screen yet.
I need to share the entire screen then. Let me share the entire screen again. See if it comes up. Yeah, they say participants can now see my screen. Can you?
Yes, it's clear now.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
it's
clear
clear
now.
now.
Yeah. Thank you for the observation. All right. So the next thing is to clean the data. Now, when you talk about cleaning of data, you must be very conscious of what you want to do. Now, you must standardize your data. Okay. Now, one of the major mistakes a lot of people tend to make, I think I also made this mistake back then, is that we tend to yeah, you're regressing something. This one is in million, this one is in billion, and then this one is in percent. Now, it makes the interpretation and the justification of your a unit increase in this results to a unit decrease in this. It makes it very, very difficult because if this is in million, this is in thousand, this is in percent, how are you going to do it? You understand? You will say, okay, unit increase in GDP results to 2% decrease in this. No, no, no. It doesn't work. It does not make sense. You understand? As it's okay, I think I was offered opportunity a few days back to be one of the chief editors with one of the prominent university in Ghana, Ghana University of Management, as one of their chief editors. And one of those things they are asking me is the the standardization approach. And I think one of those things that you and I can understand is we need to standardize them either using percent so that when we're interpreting in percent, all we do is percent. When you're using thousand, all you interpret is in thousand. When you're using unit, all you do is in unit. I don't know. I want to show us that using data. So, okay. So, can you see my screen? Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now the AI has generated the data for me, and then it has, kind of put the data in Excel just like I demanded. Okay, now it tells me that important to know that Nigeria does not measure or publish official poverty statistics annually. Instead, the National Bureau of Statistics and the World Bank rely on massive periodic household living standard survey to determine the national poverty head count. Now, can you see that this particular thing has validated what we said? That if poverty in Nigeria should actually be measured, people will know that close to 90 to 100% of people in the country live under massive poverty. So this actually justifies it that even the country refuses to measure because the measure poverty is going to be a big problem. So the data we have is correct. The data we have is from National Bureau of Statistics. But let me open it in Excel. Permit me, it cannot open it because I'm using what 365. Okay. Okay, this is Nigeria poverty.
I'm coming out here again. I usually tell people that sometimes the use of AI
Yeah,
has gradually taken over the traditional means of doing things, right? Now, you have given a prompt to
yeah,
AI
yeah,
to
yeah,
generate a data for you, and your command is what the AI followed. But there are some of us here
yeah.
who does not know the traditional means of sourcing data, right? Going to Statista,
Mm-hmm,
going
mm-hmm,
to Index Mondos, going to Bloomberg,
mm-hmm,
going to different
mm-hmm,
database search engines to extract data,
mm-hmm,
right? I think we will appreciate a kind of a traditional means of sourcing data other than relying on using
AI.
AI. Because
Okay.
if you have a better understanding of the traditional means of sourcing data, you
Mm-hmm,
can be able to double check what
mm-hmm,
AI is giving you from what is documented in those public database, right? So If you can help us, you don't need to go through all the whole database search engines. If you can go through a few of them, just show us this is where you can get data, any kind of data you're looking for. This is what to type, this is where to get it, just to give them a hint of how to go about doing it, other than relying on AI, so that if someday AI should shut down, they should be able to know where to go get data, and they should be able
Okay.
to know where to verify data and validate data.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's very nice. And I think it's a very nice opinion. AI requires you to know what you're doing too, because you don't know what you're doing, it's going to make you do what you don't need to do. All right. So having said that, let's look at Index Mundi. That's one of the data points that we will need to go to. And then we will look at like 2, 3 data platforms, and then I will tell you what is involved there. So the first one is World Bank. World Bank data portal. Okay. So under World Bank data portal, you can get data related to poverty, data
Sorry,
related to
so,
access.
sorry to interject again. I'm coming back at
Yeah.
you again.
Yeah.
I don't want to change your direction of presentation, right? But
Uh-huh.
I'm a bit conscious of time, so that even if you're gonna encroach in their time, we don't encroach beyond what they should be able to sacrifice, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know if you want to run through the theoretical slides and then probably go into practical properly, right? I don't know how you partitioned your presentation, if it is a kind of bit by bit theory into practical, or theory, you complete all the theories and then you go into practical, right? So that they will not be confused at the same time and they'll be able to flow with your explanations and practical involvement. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was actually taking it more like once the theory part of the whole thing is finished, and then I get into the practical aspect.
Yeah,
So
I think
as
I
I'm a
think Yeah, I think that works. If you want to do your theory and then you're not going to practical, that works. I'm flowing with you because I have the fundamental knowledge about research. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
them that is an early career researcher, I don't want to
Mhm.
get them confused, or their mind being twisted of like, I'm lost, completely lost. I don't know where I was, I don't know where I am, and I don't know how to
Mhm.
go about navigating whatever you're saying. So
Mhm.
I want us to carry them along so that they understand every single step of what you're saying, right?
Mhm.
And then let's be a bit conscious of the time as well, so that they can have the time to ask questions, and then you can have the time to demonstrate the practical involvement of this, because that is actually the central point of our discussion. Thank
Mhm.
you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so in view of that, my plan was actually for us to systematically go through each and every one of them. So when we talk about data collection, I take you through it and explain, and then when we talk about descriptive statistics, I go to the data and then describe the data and then run descriptive statistics for you to also see. All right, but having that done, so let me just rush through the slides and then we proceed into the practical properly. So give me like 5 minutes or so, we go through the slide. So the first thing you need to do is to understand that the quantitative analysis flows through data collection, data cleaning, description of your data, and testing. Then you have your interpretation and report presentation. So now when you talk about your measures of central tendency and dispersion, some of the things that you need to understand under your descriptive statistics is your mean, your median, and then your mode. So, in economic trend, we are much more concerned about your Jacobelli statistics, which actually tells us the normalcy of distribution over time. I would really like to describe this based using the descriptive statistics approach of it. Now, the next you can really look at is the distribution. Maybe you want to compare variables over time. So you can actually look at the distribution using your bar chart, your pie chart to also compare variables over time. Then you want to maybe look at the differential run of a particular variable over time. So you need to use the line chart. I think I will explain that while I go into visualization. And then under your inferential statistics, you look at your hypothesis testing and all this thing. But these ones are more academic related. I don't think we're doing academic related research right now. We are doing more of industrial related research. But for the sake of understanding, so you look at your significance levels. Now, on that significant, especially when you look at your ADF test, we have the significant level at 5%, at 10%. You understand? So, but for the sake of academic correctness, 5% is always much more preferred, and it's always stated that at 0.05%, you understand, you should always accept for significant and assert for economic impact other than when it is above that. Now, the next is choosing your right statistical tools. So there are a lot of criteria that you need to determine before you choose the kind of statistical tools you want to take. So I'm going to look at just basically two. I'm going to look at your correlation, and then I'm going to look at your regression, because I believe every one of us know about correlation, chi-square, ANOVA, paired text, and both correlation and regression. Now, the first statement I want to make is that correlation does not always equal causation. So you need to learn to understand the difference between correlation and causation. While correlation is showing you relationship, okay, if this moves like this, if this does, and this moves the other direction, okay, your causation is telling you a cause and effect, okay. It's kind of telling you that if a unit increase in this will result to a unit increase in this. Like there is a pari passu relationship that every single change that occurs to this will occur to this. So it depends on the direction of causation. Okay, it can either be unidirectional or bidirectional. So it simply means that maybe me going to school will increase my salary. My salary increasing will also increase me going to school, which is bidirectional. But when it's unidirectional, me going to school increase my salary, but increasing my salary does not equate to me going to school. So your regression analysis is the next. It goes into you understanding the differences between the dependent and the independent variable. Your dependent variable is the variable you want to give meaning to. Your independent variable are the variables that want to give it meaning. Okay, so most textbooks we call it the regress and the regressors. All right, so this is where you also use to check that. I think we will get to make practical about it. The visual communication. So in building visuals, there are different kind of visuals you can have. Effectively, you need charts. Charts communicate more than just talking and writing, okay? You need charts to show exactly what is going on, to show the trend, to show the particular thing that your study is talking about. Now, in every publication, there are areas of emphasis. If you present charts and tables, it's much more important than you write 30 paragraphs that does not have any statistical backing. So charts are your data points. It kind of gives direct meaning without needing the person to actually begin to read from beginning to end. Nobody have this long attention span. Now, chart selection guide. For your bar charts, you want to make comparison. For your line charts, you want to see the trend over time. Okay. Now, for your pie or your donut chart, you just want to show, the parts of a whole stuff. Then your stack chart, you want to show composition. You understand? Maybe you have like three factors. Okay, father, mother, child, this family, father, mother, child, that family, father, mother, child. So you use your stack bar chart to actually show that. Then your scatter plot is actually to show membership or numerical relations. So anything that is not too much of that's important, I will run from it so that I can get to the practical point of it. Okay, so the next thing is presenting your finding. I will talk about how to present your finding and interpret it, then presenting quantitative finding and what is and what is not. Maybe I'll come back to this when I'm done with the practical part. So please let us go into the practical part. Data extraction, of the extra data, and then we will now use that data to practicalize some of the things that we've talked about. So the first place I want us to go to is word development indicator. So you can type that in your Google. Okay. Now that is simply your World Bank data. So you go to your World Bank database. All right. You allow it to open. So while this is opening, I'll open another one. The next one is Statista. Statista, I use this a lot. Statista data portal. Okay. Statista. So Statista. The next one we go to is Index Monday. And then the last one we go to is National Bureau of Statistics. That's for Nigeria. National Bureau of Statistics. Now, in this place, this is where you get all data related to Nigeria. Only data related to Nigeria. This is where you get it. Okay. Now, in your World Development Indicator, please, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. It looks like Chidima,
Yes.
they want to ask a question.
Okay. Please, Chidima, go ahead. I'm listening. Sorry, I'm not here. Like my attention is out here, so I'm not seeing it until I come back. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Chidima,
Okay.
please go ahead.
You said something that correlation is not causality.
Yeah, it's
So
not
I want to ask. So what does causality? You explain what causality means, but I want to ask: is it that regression is causality, or I would say there's a test I used to do like Granger causality. Is that what defines causality?
Okay, yeah. Now, Granger causality test is what defines causality. That is pairwise Granger causality. Now, pairwise Granger causality talks about, the cause and effect. So, the cause of something, if a unit increase in this results to this increase also. Like, for instance, under your Granger causality, let's say GDP Granger cause exchange rate. That means if GDP increases, the exchange rate increases. Okay, now that is your uni causality test. Now on your bi-directional causality test, it simply means GDP Granger cause exchange rate, and also exchange rate Granger causes GDP. That is your Granger causality. Okay, it's showing direction of effect. All right, the cause and effect relationship. While your correlation, you are just looking for relationship. So this relationship can exist, but it does not cause the effect. That's the difference. You understand? The relationship exists, but there is no relationship between them based on cause and effect. That's the fact that the relationship exists between GDP growth and exchange rate does not mean that exchange rate causes GDP to grow. And it does not mean that GDP causes exchange rate to grow. It's only Granger causality that actually expresses that particular level of relationship. Are you good?
Yeah. Okay,
So
go ahead.
I want to ask, what does regression now do?
Okay. Okay. Now regression is more in depth because regression now shows you the unit impact, the statistical unit impact each explanatory variable has over the explained variable. The explanatory variable are the independent variable on the right-hand side of your model, right? The explained variable is the dependent variable on the left-hand side of your model. So for instance, we are using a percentile approach, and then we have our GDP, we have our exchange rate, and then our exchange rate is negative, right? So our interpretation, let's say our exchange rate is negative 19, okay? Negative 19.1. And then our GDP is our dependent variable. So our interpretation is going to be on the fact that a unit increase in exchange rate will result to a 19.1% decrease in economic growth, which is captured by GDP. So regression shows you the percentile or unit effect the independent variables exert over the dependent variable. You understand? So why this one tells you relationship, but it does not quantify the relationship. Regression quantifies that relationship and shows you the direction of that relationship, and not just the direction of that relationship, whether it's positive or negative, because it can either be positive or negative. It also shows you if it is significant or not significant. Significant means that the people will feel it. Insignificant means that it's negligible. So that is like the importance of regression. And another part of regression that is very interesting, it also shows you the overall measure ability of the variables using your R and your R square. You understand? So when you come to your R square, you know that your R square and your adjusted R are not the same things, right? Your R square shows the overall explanatory capacity of the independent variable. All of them, all of them. Now your adjusted R square shows
Chidema has taken you to a place of no return. I think I need to draw you back. And Chidema, you know what happened, right? If you have your question, please put that in the chat box, right? I will keep track on that so that we don't take him out of his direction, right? Because the place I taking him now, I'm sure he's not gonna come back again. So we're gonna lose track of him completely. So when that question came, I knew that this question came at the wrong time. You're gonna take him where he's not gonna come back again. So what happened is this, just to maintain the flow of the discussion. I know this is a bit complex, right? Because my interest more is in the demonstration, the practical involvement, so that you guys will see firsthand how these things are done, right? So the way because I'm intentionally interjecting him because I don't want him to go out of coverage. I just want him to maintain the flow so that people will understand what he's doing, right? So going forward, if you have your question, just drop it on the chat. I will look at if it's something that needs an immediate answer, I will call his attention to it. But if it's something that can be answered towards the end of the class, I will leave it there and then I will read it to him towards the end of the class, right? So that he can flow with the whole stuff the way he planned it. And then if there's anything that is missing, I will call his attention to that. So sorry for that. I'm sure you have answered the last question, but you're going a bit deeper. So what happened is go back to the source of data and how data is being collected from those search engines. Sorry for that. So go back to that. Thank you.
all right, thank you so much. Chidima, I hope that is well explained. Now, this is word development indicator. Please, I'm going to speak very fast. I'm going to be fast on this. Just follow, okay? Now, this is word development indicator, right? You are in the portal. You just open the portal. Now, you have the filter point here. Now, you have the filter point by variables. You have the filter point by database. You have the filter point by country. Now, our interest is not all these countries, okay? If we want to study Africa, we can now select Africa. And now Africa has its own categorization, like you have Central Africa, okay? We have Eastern Africa and Southern Africa. These are like data points on them. So under your word development indicator, you get a word view of the data, not a country view like your National Bureau of Statistics. This is a country view, okay? It's only Nigeria specific. Now you go to your Statista. The Statista is a word view. Your Index Monday 2 is a word view. So how do we extract certain level of data for Nigeria? Please, I want us to quickly do that so that we can be at the same page. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my filter, okay? Look at my filter here. So I'm going to like click on N. Nigeria is here. You can see Nigeria is here. It's already marked. But I don't want to, I don't want to select all the countries. I don't want all the countries. So I'm going to go back. Okay. I'm going to remove all. Okay. I'm going to remove all. Right. Then when I remove all, I can now sort by country. I can now sort by country, like which country do I want? Okay, which country do I really want to investigate? And the country I want to investigate is Nigeria. So you can see I have unselected all of them, right? So I will go to Nigeria, I will go down, go down, go down. If I want, I can just use the search button here to search for it. So I will go to Nigeria, I'll click Nigeria. This is what I want.
For fairness and equity, we still have a Ghanaian person in our midst. So
Okay.
sometimes we make
Okay.
reference to Ghana.
Okay. Let us look at Nigeria and Ghana. Maybe we'll do a comparative analysis then. Let's look at Nigeria and Ghana. Let's look at Nigeria and Ghana. Permit me. So I'm trying to use the search button, and then here is Ghana. Okay. So I am interested in Nigeria and Ghana. Now you see, they are telling me that country selected is how many? Two countries. That is Nigeria and Ghana. So now database. These are the database we have. Now database tells you how many variables, how many database that I want to access. You understand? There are thousands of database. So which of the database am I interested? Now, the thing there is that I said I'm interested in world development indicator. I will want everybody to be focused on world development indicator, especially when you want to do a world related, a country related analysis. Okay. Now, under this database, we can decide to have education statistics, all indicators of education, doing business, all indicators of it. Okay. So we can decide what we have, like what we want. So instead of that, let me say I want gender statistics. Okay, I want gender statistics, right? Now, when I say I want gender statistics, I still have, it pushes me to select countries based on the gender statistics I want. To select countries, again, like I have to do is go back and I click for Nigeria to get gender statistics for Nigeria. Nigeria, okay. And I apply this, change. Please don't hang. Okay, so next I go to Ghana. Nigeria has been selected. So I go to Ghana, and then Ghana has been selected. And then I can now proceed to check what kind of data do I want. Okay, what kind of data do I want? Is it about 1 month? Okay, is it about 1 month that can be covered with savings and borrowing and all that? And then I can select the kind of data I want. Is it about access to anti-retroviral drugs by female, antiretroviral drugs by male? So these are like the variables I want. Is it age at first marriage? Like I want to check age at first marriage between Nigeria and Ghana. Okay, let's take it age at first marriage. Let's say we want to look at age by population. This is by female. Then age by population. This is by male. Let's say we take this, and then we apply this change. Okay, we apply this change, and then another thing we can look at is selected. Let's say we want to also look at another stuff, which is, let's say, birth rate crude by people. So we want to see the kind of birth rate that kind of occurs between Nigeria and Ghana. If the population of Nigeria will be higher than that of Ghana anytime soon. All right. So here we have what is called the statistics too. If I'm looking at economic statistics, education statistics, employment, assets, and all that. But I don't think I'm really interested in these ones, okay? Because we don't have time to like go through. But you can navigate this on your own. And now, if you watch, we have country, we have series, then we have to select our time. Okay, we have to select our time. And so we come here, we click on our time. Now, hard time is like the years you want to investigate, and for all goodness sake, you have from 1960 to 2025. So I can decide to select all, but for the sake of correctness, let us select from 2025, 2024, 23, 22, 21, 20, 2019, 2017, and 2016, 15. Okay, let's stop here. Let's stop here, and then we apply this. So when we do that, we click on apply. So what it does is that it kind of goes around to generate these variables for us. Okay, instead of us running to look for these variables, like it goes around to generate the data for us. So let me see. Okay, so like for Nigeria, we see that there are no data for age at first marriage. Nigeria does not report that. Nigeria does not report age at first marriage. Okay, no, I do not need these countries, please. I'll select all. I'm only interested in Nigeria, Nigeria and Ghana. Nigeria and Ghana. Where is Ghana? All right, so this particular platform is kind of something you will need to, be very careful about. It's nice. You can use it to extract any data you want. So you say, I'm interested in Nigeria and Ghana. And so if you look at it, the data on education and education attendance, birth rates, and all this thing, it's not significantly reported in Nigeria and Ghana. It's not reported. You can see data does not exist for these two countries. So instead of this, maybe I'll look at a different variable. Let me look at a different variable. Let me look at GDP. Let me look at GDP. Let me look at GDP. Okay, this is access to clean water and data. No, no, no. I just want to look at economic growth. Okay, adjusted national income, annual growth. Okay, maybe let's look at something like this. I pray that it's going to be available. And then we just give it some time to load for the both countries and see what we get. You need to load fast. Okay, while it's loading, we can still go to Statista. Statista is another statistical portal where you can search for data too. So here we can access any kind of data we need. Okay, just like the World Bank, right? So under Statista, we can look at GDP growth in Nigeria. You can search GDP growth in Nigeria and we send it. And then it's going to give us GDP growth in Nigeria. Okay. And so we have GDP growth in Nigeria, right? So you can come on here, you see copy data. You can see here, they say copy data. So you can actually copy the data, which is what is reflective here. I'm going to show us how to derive things like this visualization that is interactive. So this is GDP growth in Nigeria. So we can also download it. If we don't want to copy it, we can download it. Now it doesn't give me access to, download the CSV file or this. It only gives me access to download the PNG. Why? Because I'm not logged in yet. I'll need to be logged in order for me to access the download option for the CSV file. Okay, I think this one is also done. This word development indicator. Now, funny enough, in my word development indicator, Nigeria and Ghana has not been kind of given report, like they don't have reports on basic stores in Nigeria and Ghana. That is crazy. That's crazy. That's very, very crazy. Let me see. Have you logged in? Okay. So this is more like my institutional mail. So, okay. So I log in. Now see, it has given me access to download. So I can just download it as Excel. Okay. So it's downloading as Excel. So this is how you get data from Statista here. Okay. That's how you get data. It's downloading. You can see it here where my mouse is. And then let's see development indicator. I'm really interested in this one, but I don't know why these countries I have selected do not report their data. This is crazy. Okay, so let me look at something else. Let me look at population growth. Let me apply and say. Now, population growth. You know what? Let me go down more. If these people have not been reporting for those earlier years, maybe they will report for later years. I believe they should report for later years. So let me apply this and say if they report for later years, because I will need you to know how to generate data from World Development Indicator. So while World Development Indicator is still rolling, generating the data for us, let's now go to, I've shown us how to get data on our Statista. So it's very easy to get data on Statista. You can see it's very, very easy. All you have to just do is log in, search the data you want, and then you go ahead to generate the data. If you don't know how to go about it, you ask the AI, okay, and then the AI will also help you go about it. For an instance, let me say I want to see population growth in Ghana. Let's use Ghana. So let's see population growth in Ghana. So this is annual population growth in Ghana from 1961 to 2024. So this is annual population growth in Ghana, right? So I need this data. So I click here. Okay, so I can download it as Excel. You can even download the chart to guide your own regression, right? So it's downloading and it has downloaded, right? So that's it. Now the next one, I think we're done with Statista. So the next one is Index Monday. I think Index Monday too should be very, very simple. Now Index Monday has sector categorization, okay? It has data on exchange rate, agriculture, energy, mining, and what have you. And then it also categorizes them by countries. So based on the country you want to check, also select the country you want to check. But our own interest is basically going to be on Africa. It's going to be on Africa. It also has language. Okay, so you can select based on language. So we click on more because we need Africa. We don't need these developed economies. We need Africa. So we allow it to roll. Sorry, I'm navigating through this site so quickly. It's because I really want us to. Okay, so you say now on our World Development Indicator, you see that Africa is just a crazy country, right? You see, they don't even report for how many years since 1990. There is no report. There is no report until 2009. That is when you now have a report until 2009. Nigeria self is the worst. Ghana has reports. Nigeria doesn't have a report. You understand? On this particular variable, and then the report is not even consistent. So that's the thing. So I don't know. Let's look at something else that is possibly going to give us like a consistent listing over time. Let's see money. Let's see rural population growth. Okay, rural population growth. I don't know why these data are not very consistent. So rural population growth. Okay. It's still not consistent. across all. It's still not consistent across all. So that. This is how you can actually download the data. You go to download option, okay? You select either Excel, CSV file, or what have you. So I need it in Excel. Okay, so it has downloaded. That is it. It has downloaded. But the data is not comprehensive. So there are more places you can get comprehensive, like your index Monday. Okay. And then your statista. Those ones have much more comprehensive data. Index Monday. What is this? Okay. And the last index Monday is not open in Nigeria statistical portal. Nigeria statistics. That's National Bureau of Statistics. Index Monday is not opening. Could it be my VPN? Index Monday. I wanted to select. I don't know. It's not showing me. I'm trying to get more options for countries like this. But let's see exchange rate. Let's click on exchange rate and see what it gives us. Exchange rate. Okay, euro and this. Okay, consent. All right. Let's see exchange rates for Nigeria. Okay, so official exchange rate for Nigeria. You guys just need to be very fast on this data extraction process. Okay, so this is official exchange rate for Nigeria. Now, why I like Index Monday is because it's very simple too. Okay, so you and I can see what is this thing that's appearing on my screen. For Christ's sake. I don't know what this thing is. Why is it appearing on my screen? Be careful reports. Our site is supported by personalized, and that's my business now. I'm trying to start it. It's like this one is restricting my country of origin. Okay, so but when you look at the side of it, I don't know why they just kept this thing here. They wouldn't want to take it out. So when you look at it, you will see that it has a bottle, very, very nice, very, very nice. Let me use a different place to search for this on Index Monday. Index Monday. Okay, so let me search. Let me see population growth in Nigeria. Let me see. I hope this is going to open well. Population growth in Nigeria. If this does not go, I will go back to the ones who attracted and we continue. I will time. Okay, so this is population growth in Nigeria. Now you can see the data. Okay, so I can just do like this, copy it. Okay, bam, I copy. Then I go to my Excel. I hope you guys have me. I go to my Excel. So search my Excel, and then I paste the data. No, I have I already copied it. So I go to my Excel and then I insert the data. So you see, I've inserted the data. Okay, this is like population growth in Nigeria, right? I can put it from here. Okay, so that I have my population growth. growth in Nigeria and Ghana. All right, so this is Nigeria. Okay, so I can change the value to represent pop growth. Pop growth, right? So this is it. That is if I don't want to download the data. Now I can also go back to that same portal. Why this thing restricting me access now? What is wrong? Okay, so let's say the same population growth in Ghana. And I pre open very quickly and I copy and run. Okay. No. No, not exchange rate. Population growth in Ghana. Population growth in Ghana. So sometimes you just need to be kind of very careful with your spelling and your spacing. Because if your spacing is much, they can just tell you that they did not recognize it. Okay, don't worry, you guys are stupid. I'm just back anyhow. All right. So this is for Ghana. Okay, so this is for Ghana and this is for Nigeria. Okay, this is Ghana. I think at this point I'm okay. I will use this as my basic explanation. Okay, so the population growth for Ghana and population growth for Nigeria. Any question, please? This is for Ghana and this is for Nigeria. So here I will practicalize visualization, import. So e-views, explain the regression, run basic regression and all that I need to run very, very quickly so that we save our time. Again, this is for Ghana and then this is for Nigeria pop growth in percent. So it's pop growth in percent for Nigeria. Okay, this is for Nigeria. All right. So please, did you understand the process? Like, sorry, where I am, there are a lot of sites that kind of naturally tells us not to, get in there because of sanctions and what have you. So these are some of the sites you can use, and there are lots of them. You still have the Nigerian Statistical Bulletin. Okay, the Nigerian Statistical Bulletin can also be of help to you. Let me see, but that is really crazy because you will need to download it and begin to extract the data one after the other. Nigerian Statistical Bulletin, that is from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Okay, so you can also get that. Okay, that is the Nigerian Annual Statistical Bulletin. This is for industries. This is for Nigeria, Nigerian Statistical Bulletin. That is the one I want to look at, which is the last one for data extraction. Don't worry, when we get to the explanations, it's going to be very easy because I will just be running one after the other and we will fly with our time. So this is Nigeria Statistical Bulletin. Now, under the Nigeria Statistical Bulletin is categorized into different headings, okay? You have the commercial, you have the industrial. So depending on what you're looking for. So there are annual statistical bulletin reports. So this is for 2025, right? So you can see the bulletin on financial statistics. So when you want data on finance, this is where to get it. That on financial statistics. When you want data on domestic production and consumption prices, this is where you get it. So the bulletin is segmented based on sectors. It's sectorially arranged. Okay. So based on sectors, you are able to extract data on this. Let us look at one of these sectors. Let's look at this sector on domestic production and what have you. So it has downloaded. I can actually open it. I'm using 365. So 365. So this is it of 23. So I go to my Excel. I try to open it on my Excel directly. Okay. Yeah. Try to open it on my Excel. And this is Nigerian poverty. This is the other one, which is this one. Okay, so this is the Nigeria Statistical Bulletin, okay, and then it also shows you, the details, like it shows you the details on the availability of data, like based on what you can actually find inside the bulletin. So maybe I want GDP. I want GDP. So I click on GDP. You can see it gives you GDP. You understand? It gives you the net tax on each product. It gives you GDP at current basic price. Then it gives you GDP at the market price. You understand? And then it also specifies the agricultural sector output at each period. You understand? Now, this particular variable here represents the agricultural sector output. That is everything that measures agricultural sector. Now, for an instance, if you're investigating crop production, livestock, uh, forestry, and fishery, you cannot use this variable because this variable captures the entire sub variables, like the entire sub sectors under the agricultural sector, okay, which includes crop production, livestock, forestry, fishery. Now, under the industry, this is the cumulative value of the industrial production. You understand? Is the cumulative value of the industrial production. Then this is the unit or sector related value of the industrial production, refining, cement, and all that. You understand? This is it. Is this the same thing? So do not make the mistake of using aggregate when you are investigating a component of the sector. So I think with this little explanation, you should be able to understand data extraction from the manual point of view. So let us proceed into our manipulation and importing of our data. So we are going to import this data into econometric views. So I want to save it, practice one. I want to save it. Then I want to go to my option and browse. So I want to have it on my desktop. So this is it, and this is it. Now, first, I will want to checkmate my data. Now, the first thing I need to understand is that my data has the year column, which is this one. It has year is from 1961 down to 2020, and then my data is on percent true. I do not have any value. I do not have any missing value, right? So I want to check the trend over time. So what I have to do is to select this data. There is no big deal about trend. So I can select this data. So I want to check the trend over time. Then I go to insert. Please, I hope I'm not fast. I go to insert. Now, in order for us to be very quick, we can just use recommended chart. Okay. So when we click on recommended chart, we're able to check the visualization over time using Excel, okay? So in Excel, we can decide to use our trend analysis, okay? So let's look at trend. Now, if you look at the trend, you discover our chart, remember what we're looking at is population growth rate, okay? Our population growth rate, okay? Comparative, right? Nigeria and Ghana. Sorry, my title is long. It's not supposed to be long. So this is it. Nigeria and Ghana, right? This is the chart on Nigeria and Ghana for the population growth. Okay, over time. Now I can actually go ahead to design this chart. I can go ahead to design this chart by looking at the chart elements, okay, to add the chart titles by each of the axes, maybe by the horizontal axis. You can see I just went to add chart titles, then I go to the horizontal axis. Now under my horizontal axis, I'm going to write my year. Okay, this is my period, so I'm going to put years so that I can definitively define the chart, right? I'm going to write here, and then under the vertical axis I'm going to put the population, right? I'm going to put the population. So chart design. So I go here. So I'm going to put under the vertical. So you can see it. So I can put population. Okay, so population growth. Okay, so I have population growth. So I can still go further to design the chart, right? I can still go further to design the chart by, click on it and go to chart design. Then I can also check each and every one of this design to see which one I like, if it's good, if it's not good. Now, for academic purpose, you must use a clean chart, okay? A very clean chart, a very, very clean chart, not anyhow chart, right? So now another one you can check is to use your layout, your chart layout to determine the kind of chart you want. So this is it. You can see it has changed. The layout is changed. And then you can go here, the layout change. You can go here, the layout change, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And so that is how you do this particular visualization. So I can also go ahead to make another different visualization on this. Okay. So on this, I can use this one, the same thing, and then I go to insert, and then I go to recommended charts. Then I can decide to check my stock area charts too to see what happens here. So here you can also see the blue part is Nigeria, and the uh is it purple part? No, it's not purple. I think let's call it yellow, is of Ghana, right? So you can see that Nigeria have had more like a steady growth trend. Ghana has had more of a torrential up and down pattern over time in population growth system. So this is basically how you do statistical visualization of your data over time on Excel, and you can also determine or choose which of these particular things you want to do. And nicely done, so you can change the colors. Okay, you can change the colors of the visualization you want. You can change the colors based on what you want. Further definitive part two, I think I will really want to dwell on this more, how you can further design your data, but very quickly on that, because after now I want to import this into eView so that we can do the other practicals very, very quickly. Okay, so this is it. Let's say we go to insert, we go to recommended chart, and then we have this one. Okay, so I want to maybe improve on this chart. I can go to this, and then so I can go to this chart. I click on it. Okay, when I click on it, I can right click. Okay, then I can format chart areas, right? I'll click format chart areas. So when I click format chart areas, I can actually, you know, I can redesign the chart here. I can put gradients. Okay, I can put solid backgrounds, like make it very solid. You can see my chart became solid. I can put no fill. There is no color fill on the chart. And then over here too, over here I can decide the kind of show I want to have. If I want it to be different colors, okay, like for instance I want to change this particular one to a different color, I can click on it and then I'll change it. I'll apply a different color on it. Okay, that's the color trend tends to like change over time, and then I can change it back to black. Okay, so the color I just added to it is to show the move, like the shadow move of the trend over time. Then I can also increase the transparency or reduce the transparency. If I want to increase the transparency, I'll just increase it. I want to reduce the transparency, I can still reduce it. And I think that is that. That is that. That is that. There is no much need in over designing your this thing, over designing visualizations. Okay, so okay, values inverts. Okay, no, I don't want this. Okay, these other things are not very necessary. All you need is a visualization. So this is it. Now I want to import this particular data that I've just visualized into a software so that I can use it to regress. So for the sake of this class, I'll be using econometric views 10. There will be little or no time to use SPSS. So here I'm going to show us how to import your data. So what I do is I click on my eViews, right? I don't need to update this, okay? So I click on my eViews and then it opens for me. So I go to File, and then under File I go to Import, okay? Then under Import I click on that to bring my data. Then I go in search of where my data is. My data is stored in here. This is BI. Okay, let me see. Did I save it and download? Nigeria growth and okay. Annual population growth, Nigeria and Ghana. I think it's this one. Overview. Wait, let me see. No, it's not this one. Please, let me get the data imported into use. Is it Nigeria poverty trend? No, not this. Okay, book 2. Let me resave this so that I can get to import it and know exactly what it is and where it is. So you need to make sure you know where your data is saved at. So book 22222. Okay. So that's S, and then I import this. So I go to my download. So here it is. So I import my data. Now these are my data, and then this is the official overview of that. I need not take much time. I just finished on that. Okay, I just mentioned that. So the very first thing I will want to check is my descriptive statistics. Okay, remember that is where we talked about the need for you to describe your data and then interpret the description and then run all the. So here we are going to run everything that has to do with the practical aspect. But I think I've talked for some time. I will need to come back and know if there is any question or any of concern. Any questions so far or any area of concern? Am I too fast?
Oh no, not really. Dr. Eric, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so the app you use in which we imported the data, does it function? Yes, it functions as the SPSS. They have the same functionality, the same.
Yes, it has the same functionality. Yeah, but SPSS is very good for primary data. Get, yeah, it's very good for primary data. But we know we are talking about quantitative data analysis. SPSS is very good for primary data, where you code and then you have to put all the strongly agreed, not agreed, and all this stuff. eViews does not have that provision. Okay, that's why we're using it for quantitative analysis. Any other concern so that we'll proceed? Okay, so we are here and then we've imported our data. So one of the things that we need to always look at for is our descriptive statistics. Okay, so we can just select the both data and we want to describe the both data. Okay, so we go to our view section. Oh, come on, guys. Okay, so we go to profiles. Okay, so we can actually do that by we go to our series of statistics, and then I'm going to look at the descriptive statistics. I'm going to look at your correlation. I'm going to look at your Johansson integration. Then the person that asked me of Granger causality, I'm going to look at that. Then your inferential statistics and everything that we talked about there, I'm going to briefly, quickly explain each and every one of them. So first, let us look at the group statistics, which is your descriptive statistic. So most times you don't just do that. I want to look at let's use the common sample and see what we get. Now, under the common sample, if you can see my screen, you will get your mean, okay? Remember, your mean is like the total number of the value divided by the total number of what you added. And then the median is like the middle number in the entire thing. Your maximum is your highest value. Your minimum is your lowest value. You understand? And then another point of skewness and standard deviation are not really very important, but skewness, I think I like it. You use your skewness to determine if your data has like a left tail or a right tail. Then your Jacob bearer statistics and probability are the most important ones that defines every other thing. So most times when I'm interpreting, I do not interpret these ones because they are not meaningful. Okay, they are not really meaningful. These ones are not meaningful. Okay, they're just showing descriptions. This is what is showing you your data variation. This particular one is what is showing your data variation, if your data is normally distributed or not. Okay, so if you look at the probability value, the probability value is at 0.85. 0.85, it simply means that it is not normally distributed. It is only normally distributed when it's less than 0.05. So based on this particular trend that the data have shown you, it is in conformity with what our trend analysis tells us about this particular data. Remember our trend analysis. Permit me to run it again so that we can compare what our descriptive statistic is saying and what our trend analysis is saying. Because if they are saying two different things, then we cannot put our data. Now, if you look at trend analysis, you discover that our trend analysis does not follow a systematic pattern. It follows an upward and downward trend pattern. There is a white noise in it, consistently going up and down, meaning that population growth over time has not followed a similar trajectory. It has been changing over time, and so many things influence population growth. Okay, religious affiliation and all those, you understand. Propensity to any more can also, encourage people to give birth to more children. So when you look at our probability value, which is the Jacobite probability value, is greater than 0.05%, which tells you that the population growth trend in Nigeria and Ghana has not over the years followed a very similar pattern. It has been on upward and downward trend, unpredictability. That is what we see there. It can be up, it can be down over time. So this is what your descriptive statistic tells you. Now the sum tells you the total number of variables we have actually estimated, and then the observation tells you the total number of years that we have observed based on the variables we used. So after this, we can proceed to another point of interest, which is let's see, another point of interest, which is our correlation. Okay, let's see if there is a relationship. Okay, let's see correlation. Now, our correlation is negative. Okay, now population for Ghana, population for Ghana here. We cannot really check correlation because we're looking at just one variable. Okay, if we had more than one variable, we can now estimate correlation analysis. So for the sake of elaborateness and completeness, I think I should use another variable or another data point that has more data so that we can run everything at the same time and not just some things. All right, so let me look at this. Okay, this is my BI data. Power BI data, I don't need it, it's too much to use. Let me see.
Just a minute as you continue to upload your data. Guys, please, if you can quickly respond to my chat on react to my chat on the chat box, that will really help. Continue with your presentation, Doc. Thank you.
All right, sir. Okay, I'm trying to get another data point that is much more elaborate. Let me go to my system and go to my system and see where I can get data. Mhm. Okay, guys, let's extract data from this particular place and use it to do this instead of us just using one variable. It cannot really help us to estimate for correlation. It cannot help us to estimate for correlation. All right. So permit me to do this like this. Let's get this. Let's get this. Let's get this as year. Let's get this as year. Let's get this as population. Let's get this as P. Let's get this as exchange rate. Let's get this as income. Let's get this as inflation. No, this is high. Let's get this as GDP. And let's get this as per capita income. Okay. Then let's put this as 1990. Okay, 1990. Okay, then 1991, 1992. Okay. So, and then I can drag this down to 2017. So I can save this data and then bring this data in for us to use it for practice. Okay, so we'll go back to our e-views and we just close up this because I really want us to see correlation. So we'll go back to e-views and then we'll do the same process again, and we click on download and we import our work data. 3 is already here. We're done, and then we go back to add one that, and then we go back to this group statistics. So I select the entire thing and then I click on proc. Let's check. We'll go to quick. So under quick, we'll have group statistics. So I want to check for correlation. Remember, we've already checked for descriptive statistics, but for the sake of repeat, let's try again. So this is descriptive statistics, right? It kind of describes the parameters of the data and the nature of the data over time. So these are descriptive statistics showing our sum of square, showing our observation probability, Chakabera, and all that. I think I've explained this already. So we can still go ahead to look at for our correlation. Okay, we can go ahead to look out for our correlation. So we go ahead to click on quick, and then we'll go to group statistics, and then we'll go to correlation analysis, and then we click in it. And here is our correlation matrix. Now, your correlation matrix, look at this. So we want to see if there is like a high level of correlation between exchange rate and GDP. Now you can see exchange rate and GDP does not have very much correlation. It does not have any significant correlation. Why? Because this is like 0.5. 0.5. So when you want to check the correlation matrix, okay, this is income and exchange rate. Income and exchange rate has a negative correlation. And then you look at per capita income and exchange rate, it also has not much of the correlation because it's at 0.9, which is like approximately 1, showing a positive correlation. And then population and exchange rate has a negative correlation. So it simply means that increasing exchange rate has a negative effect over population growth over time. And then if we look at our GDP and exchange rate correlation is kind of positive, though not significantly high. Okay, but our GDP and GDP is kind of positive. Correlation of values between itself has to always be positive. Our GDP and income is negative, like, so GDP growth does not always correlate with income growth over time. So this is our correlation analysis. So we can now proceed to check for other things, right? So we proceed to check for other things. First, we look at something like we look at let's look at um, unit root, because this is like the basic of academic analysis. Let's look at unit root. But for the sake of understanding, like I'm not going to do the entire thing. I'm just going to do just small, maybe one or two. I'm going to check the unit root value of it, interpret it, and then you can use that to guide your own interpretation. Now, the first thing we will need to check for our unit root before we check unit root is that we check for structural break. All right. Structural break is a period where maybe a data point has a sharp upward or a sharp downward trend, right? That's structural break. Now we can select this to see if we have a structural break in this, because it's going to determine the kind of unit root we run. If we have structural break, it simply means that we will need to use the breakpoint unit root test. Okay, so this is our data. We just try to visualize it. Now you can see on this particular data over the years, you can see the sharp upward, sharp downward, sharp upward, sharp downward trend over time, right? It simply tells you that the structure over time has not been stable. Okay, so there has been structural break in this particular data point over time, meaning that we are justified to use the break-even unit root. But when our data does not reflect sharp upward and downward trend, we are obliged to use the ADF process, that is augmented decay fuller test. I'll show you the two difference. Now this particular unit root is your ADF test. Okay, it's your ADF test, but not just ADF test. LDF is very popular. Okay, now you can still use your Philip Perron test. You can still use different kind of tests here. But why do you need to use ADF? It's because ADF gives you that elaborate part and is based on your data point and your data type. Okay, now for instance, if you're running the data on maybe annual is always ADF. But when you're running something on monthly trend and all this thing, you don't use ADF. I think Philip Perron has much more ability in capturing things like that. So for the sake of correctness, I will explain this. Now, ADF has 3 levels, okay? It has levels, first difference, second difference, and then it also includes trend and intercept, and then at null. So I'm going to run at ADF, then breakpoint, and then we continue to another thing for the sake of time. So at levels, we try to check it at levels. Now, at levels, what levels means is that the economy is statistically stable. What level means is that the economic is not experiencing any significant shock. What level means is that there is progressive, predictable trend of the economy. What level means is that the economy is following a trajectory. It's not deviating from that trajectory. That is what at level means. You understand? The economy is not in the state of economic shock. That is what level means. Now, at level, any economy that is significant at level shows you that that economy is predictable over time. Now, we see that exchange rate is at level, right? Now, exchange rate is at level based on our unit root test. Now, our justification is based on this value that I have highlighted, this value, and this value. These three values must always agree for we to accept the result. Please listen, these three values, these three, the probability, the trade statistics, and then the critical value must always agree. Now, what is the idea behind it? Now, the three statistics must always be greater than the critical value in absolute term. That means you must not calculate or put in view of the minus. Please, I repeat, the three statistics must always be greater. This is the three statistics. It must always be greater in absolute term than the critical value. And then the probability value has to be less than 0.05%. Now, what is the percentile calculation? When it is 0.054, you're good to go. Okay. When it is 0.056, you're not good to go. Why? Because when you approximate 5, all right, it gives you 0.1. That means it's not statistically stationary. Now, stationarity is at a point where the economy or the variable, which is exchange rate, is not changing, like it's stable. You can call it stable at that point in time. So based on this interpretation, we can interpret this that our three statistics is greater than our critical value. Our three statistics in absolute term is 4.4. Our critical value at 5%, which is more preferable to use, is at 2.9. All right, 4.4 is greater than 2.9, and then our probability value is less than 0.05%. So it simply means that we accept stationarity, that exchange rate is statistically stationary at levels. Now, when it is not stationary at levels, we proceed to test it at first difference. At first difference is at a situation where the economy is not experiencing sharp shock, but it is not stable. Please understand, it's not experiencing sharp shock, but it is not stable. It changes, but not with very rapid speed. That's the difference. So we can go there and then we look at it. These things matter in your interpretations. They matter a lot in your interpretation. So if you look at first difference too, you discover that our unit root shows stationality at first difference. Now at second difference, we can also check at second difference. At second difference, we click on this, we can use intercept and trend. A second difference, it also shows you that it is stationary. So this is the stationarity based on ADF. Now let us look at stationarity um, based on break-even unit root. Now stationarity based on break-even unit root. So we can actually open this entire thing and we go to unit root. Okay, now when we open the entire thing, we just want to give summary of the entire unit root. So we are not interested in individual unit root because we just want to save time, right? So we just want to do the summary and then we'll click on it. And then it gives us the summary of the entire unit root. So the interpretation is still the same thing. You understand? Based on your probability value. So you can say on your probability value, when you do the summary, you discover that your probability is less than 0.05%. And it simply shows you based on the Lewin, Lin, and Cho parameter that it is stationary. Now, when you want to also check it based on other unit root types and assumptions, you see the Pearson unit root shows you that it is still stationary. You see the Fisher chi-square unit root test, it still tells you that it is stationary. This is how you do like a summary of the unit root when you don't want to do the entire thing one after the other. Although a lot of people we appreciate you to do it one after the other so that you can understand the individual differences. So now let's go to the unit root based on break even. So I click on breakpoint unit root. So this is breakpoint unit root, okay, at levels. I want to say,
But
let me use trend and intercept. Yes.
sorry, I know we have gone beyond allocated time for this class.
Are you
The,
for it?
yes, the class was meant to end by 5:30, and this is approximately 4 minutes to 6 o'clock, right? And I'm very much sure that few of our participants they might have other engagement today. So what I will solicit is, I know you're almost rounding up with the learning objectives. So I asked them questions for me to get their feedback if they want us to continue or not, but only one person responded. So perhaps that does not mean agree that they're happy to continue. That does not show also that they're not happy, but probably they just want to be at the safe side, not commenting. So what happened is this: if you can, I will give you probably 5 minutes, 5 minutes to round up so that they can, if they have question, they can be able to ask their question and we can call it a day. I know I could have wanted us to experiment using different softwares, XPSS, Statista, probably a kind of how you can use AI as well to do it. But I don't want to do much on AI because I know I don't want. If you don't have the fundamental basis, AI is
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
get rid of so many things from you, right? So I just wanted to establish the traditional means of doing these things before you can be able to prompt AI, right? So, but unfortunately, it looks like we will not get involved because we did not even do the quantitative aspect of using questionnaire, which is the like a summation, right? Be code it and then how you can transport that to XPSS,
SPSS.
how you can analyze that. So we didn't touch.
In 2 hours.
Yeah, but what happened is this. We might have to call you back again, right? We might have to call you back again to continue from where you stop. But what happened is maybe the next part of it will be the quantitative in aspect of using primary data, which is the one of using XPSS,
SPSS.
coding of questionnaire and whatever about questionnaire. So, and then at that point, you can be able to do how you can do your findings from the result, because what you're doing now is interpretation. So, how you cannot be able to narrate your findings based on the result. So that will be what we will do in the subsequent class, probably next week, Sunday as well, same time next Sunday, if that is convenient for you. But lastly, because I will be jumping out now because I have an engagement by 6 and I'm going to hand over to the classroom, right? So, lastly, I would like to request for your slide also because some of them want to read through the theoretical aspect of it as well. So, everything is recorded, so they can always go back to play it and then follow up what you have done so far, right? So, but I want to, on behalf of the three organizations, thank you so much for your time, for your explanation, for everything you have been doing. I really, really, really appreciate that from my heart. So, we say thank you, and just know that we're gonna call you back again next week Sunday, same time, so that you can be able to complete this last phase of it. Because they cannot be able to complete analysis without being able to do the proper analysis, interpretation, and present your finding. It is very, very important. That is even the basis of the data collection, right? So, I want to thank you and I appreciate your time. Please give us your time again next week, Sunday, same time as we did today, right? For 2 hours, 30 minutes. So, thank you. Khosrow, please take over because I'll be jumping out now to attend to a schedule by 6 o'clock. I don't want to disappoint people that is waiting for me. So, you guys, thank you for your participation. Don't be confused. I'm very much sure that it's going to clear the air in the next class, right? So, have your questions, have your doubts written down. The next class is going to clear it off. Please, 5 minutes, don't exceed their 5 minutes so that they can be able to attend to other things. Thank you so much and I appreciate your time. See you guys next week.
All right, thank you so much for your time. So at this point in time, I think it's okay because it's kind of funny, Sha, that you want to explain entire analytical process that someone has taken over 15 years to do in 2 hours. But I believe it's just laying down the foundation. So I will want to stop here and have us ask questions. I realized that you guys are using data and all that. So data is not easy in Nigeria. So if you have questions, please ask. I will respond to the questions. And maybe next class, and then I can now show you how to do regression analysis, Johansen co-integration, and all that. And then interpretation. So please ask your questions. I read the this thing. Some people say they don't understand the theoretical part of the whole stuff. Yeah, the theoretical part we kind of jumped, we kind of ran very quickly. I will send the slide, so you take a read at that and then maybe get back to me with your questions. So any question, please. The class rep, where are you, please? Can you unmute yourself? Ask if there's question, raise your hand. I respond, and then we can call it a day.
I'm here.
Yeah, please ask if there are questions. Okay, Chidema, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good
You've
evening.
you've really done well. I want to appreciate you.
Welcome.
Mine is not really like a question.
Mhm.
Some of us, this is our first time of like encountering something like this: qualitative data analysis, quantitative data analysis, and something you just stated a few minutes ago that you've built it over the years, you've learned it over the years. So we are not expected to just like grab everything within 2 hours. So
Mhm.
my main confusion is not even the
Yeah.
theoretical part, it's the practical part. Like the thing was just looking so overwhelming to me, if I can say. But thank God the class has been scheduled to next week Sunday. So next week
Mm.
Sunday, if you can like refresh our memories on the things you've taught so far so that at least I'll be able
Mhm.
to grab one or two because totally confused when it comes to the practical aspects.
Okay. Okay. It's okay. That will be done.
Thank
Like
you.
we can have it done again and again and again so that you can understand. It's not easy, I understand. To just go into software, no, it's not easy. Any other question or contribution or question? Just very quickly so that we can go. Course rep.
Hello, colleagues. Any other questions?
Hello.
No.
Okay, Raphael, let's go.
Yes.
Raphael, hello?
Yeah.
Raphael,
Raphael is saying he
Yes,
wants to appreciate, but your network.
for quantitative analysis, I've heard a
Yeah.
bit about it and I know it is very, very.
Yeah, go
Hello.
ahead. I'm listening.
Yes, so my knowledge about quantitative analysis, I know it is very, very broad, and there is a lot on it that we'll have to do. I want to thank the facilitator for the insight so far. We want to learn more. We want to get more aspect of it, and then more ways to maneuver around our data and do a lot on it. And so for this session, I want to say we are very grateful. I really enjoyed most of the parts, sourcing data from those institutional websites and then trying to download them. And so please, if maybe we can try the primary one too small at our next meeting. Maybe you've gone to the field and you've collected some data and then you want to run one or two analysis on it and then all that, so that because most of the works that maybe we'll be doing will be we going to field and then doing something small
Yeah.
and then trying to run analysis of what we have gotten. So
Mhm.
I want to plead that you do something small on that one too at our next meeting so that we can employ it in our immediate research assignment that we have. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's the use of SPSS. All right. Any other person? We were given 5 minutes. I think we'll have used like 3. So we'll have 2.
So if there are no more questions, I would like to, on behalf of the class, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, for sharing your wealth of knowledge and ideas with us. We are grateful and we hope to see you next week, same time. Thank you so much.
All right. So from me to you, I want to sincerely appreciate every one of you for staying put and staying by. Initially when we began, we say that analysis is not just what people have said, but you try to investigate what people are not saying. And that is why we had much of the talk to like reshape your mind and bring you to this point in time. I'm happy with you guys, and I believe I'll see you on top soon, and you are going to do well in life. You're taking the right path, I swear to God. You don't know what you're doing for yourself until sooner or later you will be the one standing and telling people why Nigeria is doing that and doing that, and people will be surprised at that. So thank you for your time, and from me to you, it's already late night here. Good night from my end.
All
Good
right.
night.
Good night, sir.
Yeah,
Everyone.
good night. Yeah.
Last, please check the chat. It's a standard job the message here for you.
What did you say?
I was talking to the class rep. Oh, it's a standard job the message here for her in the chat.